So this is Cop Robin Bridge in Salford, haunted bridge. People what live round here, I used to live round here, and everybody's scared of coming over this day or night. It's got a bit of a sinister feel to it when you come over it. It was part of a murder in 1964. Just going back, there was a murder just on the other side of this bridge, and just over this side of the bridge is where the woman worked. A place called Brands Mill. Now, Dalip Kumar come over to the UK in 1962 to study law, and in 1963 he took a job at Brands Mill as a costing clerk, and this is where he met and fell in love with a girl called Kathleen Parkinson. Now, he was absolutely smitten with her from day one. She was like a tall, fair-haired girl, life and soul of the party. She was a really nice girl and popular member of staff, and Dalip fell in love with her, but she was just wanted him as a friend really, and they sort of like went out a few times, and he tried to hold her hand, and she said no. She pulled her hand away and wouldn't have it. Like, she just wanted him as a friend, but he'd already written back to his mother in India asking for money to marry Kathleen, but Kathleen didn't want that, and she told her friends at work that she didn't want him. She only wanted him as a friend. She didn't want a relationship with him. Word got back to Dalip, and he was absolutely furious. And on the morning of the 27th of March 1963, he waited here. He waited here on the bridge, just at the bottom of these steps where I'll show you in a minute, and he waited for Kathleen to come because he knew this was a route to work, and he wanted to confront her. So he met her just down here. If you can just walk down here, I'll just show you where he met her. Just at the bottom of the bridge here, this is where Dalip was waiting for her. Now, Kathleen come from which was known as the Chinese Steps, just a bit further up there, and he met her here to confront her and ask her why she'd ridiculed him in front of his workmates. Now, as they were arguing and talking here, a guy in this yard here, this used to be a company called Snowden and Bridges, which is a wholesale fruit and veg. He heard a scream. The guy loading his van looked across, and a woman had run from here to there covered in blood, saying, I've been hit, and she collapsed. And this is round about the area of the attack, just round here. A bag was on the floor, her belongings were on the floor, and Dalip was sat on here as well while all this was going on. He was sat down on the floor. The ambulance was called, and the woman was taken to Salford Royal Hospital, where she later died of results of stab wounds, 6 stab wounds to the neck and head she died of. And when the police were called, he said, the guy who was loading his van said, there's a guy over there covered in blood, sat on this bottom step here. And this was Dalip. And the policeman said to him, have you stabbed yourself? And he nodded, couldn't speak. And then he said, did you stab the young girl? And he nodded at that. Like, so he was rushed to hospital. He stabbed himself in the stomach. And he said like, why did you do that? He said, because like she ridiculed me. He said, I didn't mean to murder her or stab her. He said, I meant to stab myself in front of her to show me love for her. That's what he said. Now, after he recovered, the surgeon come round to see him after he recovered from his injuries, and he said to him, why did you try and save me? He said, I wanted to die. I didn't want saving. With that, he was charged with the murder of Kathleen, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment on charged with the lesser charge of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. And that's the story of this murder. Now, this murder's took place here, and lots of people, when you come in this way of a night, you come this way. I used to come over here, I used to go out with a girl over there, and I'd come across here every night, and as soon as I get to this spot here, this is where I'd leg it up the stairs, because I hate the feeling here around here when it's night time is very sinister. And people have seen shadows. They've seen shadows run across when you're approaching the bridge. The people have seen shadows running across as if it's the girl what was murdered running into the yard here. And it's a very sinister feeling when you do walk here at night. So that's the story of this murder. But there's also on the other side of the bridge where Brand Packaging was, or the Brand Mill as it was called then, just under the bridge here used to be a canal. This is a train line here, and there was a hanging there. Some guy on his way to work looked through the steps of the bridge and saw a young man hung himself there. So it's got a really bad feeling, this bridge. And ask anybody from round here, Cock Robbing Bridge, and they always say, "Oh, I don't like going over it," and that's the reason.
You're not mean to kill her. Did you not mean to kill her, Dalit?
Oh, that was weird. That was weird. Look at that. A black. Something black went across my screen.
Did it? So we just had a black mask go across the screen here. Anthony's just seen it. I didn't see it, but he's seen it on camera. This was the scene of the attack here. Can you tell us any more, please, about this attack?
Gone off. Got a flash again. Flash on the screen again.
Did it? I just had a flash on the screen. Anthony's just seen that. Can you tell me? Is that a spirit walking past the camera then? This is something that said, isn't it?
This is her. This is her.
Huh?
This is her. Oh, this is her.
Yeah. Dalit, do you still sit on this bridge and wonder and ponder over the action you took? What made you get up that morning and want to do that to yourself?
Try and ask for her, see if she comes through.
Kathleen, could you come through? Come through. As if you're walking to work at Brand's Mill. Just talk to us. Try and communicate with us, Kathleen. People that live local to this bridge don't like coming over this bridge daytime or night. It always feels eerie because of what happened. Can you come through and explain to us what Dalit said to you? Did he say no one can have you? Or did he say I'm going to kill myself in front of you? I suppose you was frightened, Kathleen. Is that... You thought you'd been hit, you didn't know you'd been stabbed 6 times. Just a normal day coming to work that morning. It's like going out for a drink, Kathleen, and going to town, Manchester. You used to love your job as well at Brands, didn't you? You're only a young girl. You're working as well, I say. I like working, baby. Still does feel weird, this bridge,
yeah. Especially there.
Yeah.
My stomach's in knots. Like a knot in the stomach.
Yeah.
No, a sick feeling.
Yeah. Kathleen, can you come through and communicate with us, please?
Someone's here. If it's not them, it's the guy that someone's here. Feels weird.
Can I communicate with us please, Kathleen? We're here especially today for you, to let you come through. Try and sort. 27th of March 1963 this happened.
Just done it again, Dad. White flash.
So I've had a flash again in front of the camera.
That's because it hurt.
Is this you, Kathleen? Kathleen? Is this you what's just come in front of the camera? There was a flash in front of the camera.
I'll load the K2 out if you want.
Just going to get the K2 out. Because we're getting a bit of like flashes in front of the screen. Just
Workshop.
Yeah, I've just seen something there. That white flash that I've caught on here. I've just seen it with my eyes there.
Workshop.
I've not got much information on the person what hung himself underneath the bridge by the old canal.
I'm in pain.
Like that.
I'm in pain or something.
You're in pain? You say you was in pain? Was that Dalit? Could have been Dalit. I'm saying I'm in pain after him stabbing himself. I'm in pain.
Yeah, I'm in pain.
Was that you, Dalit, trying to tell us you're in pain after you stabbed yourself?
That's for a sign that she's here.
Can you show us a sign that you're here, Kathleen? I just heard September then. July.
I heard July.
Who's Julie? Just heard the name Julie in September. Can you tell us who that is, please?
I feel like I'm getting prodded and poked.
It's a weird feeling.
I just felt like something like dig me in back, but I don't know if it was me, but I felt like a poke.
Anthony's feeling like someone around him, like prodding him or trying to walk past him, and I felt that before, just in this corner.
This bridge behind us, what we've just come across, is called the Red Path Bridge. This leads us over to KERSAL side, but this is the river side. There used to be a guy who used to live in these sheds over here. It was known locally as Jack the Rat Catcher. Lived in it like as a hermit, really, on his own for years and years. Never troubled anyone. Once a threat to anyone, he just lived his life in a shed. Good old Jack the Rat Catcher. So we're just going to walk down now to the site of where the Lancaster bomber crashed. So we just arrived at the site of the crash of the Lancaster bomber, what crashed here. What happened was it was flying back to its base. It had come, if you can see the trees there, behind the trees is Regatta Street, and it was a continuous row of houses. Now what it done, it was in distress, the plane. They couldn't raise it, and it clipped the houses over there, demolishing a row of houses before it actually come where these trees are. Crashed. Parts of the plane had been coming off into the river, and it crashed over here into the woods there, killing all the crew on board. Now there's a monument in AGECROFT cemetery to the crew and airmen what died in this crash, and on commemorative days like anniversaries, things like that, now and again we do get a Lancaster bomber going over the cemetery, tipping its wings. There's not many Lancaster bombers in in working order these days. There's only about 2 or 3 in the country. But now and again, when it's like a major anniversary, like a 50th anniversary or whatever, you will get a Lancaster bomber coming over and tipping its wings at the crash site. So we're just going to sort of like walk along here and see if we can pick anything up, any names from the airman what was killed. And also another thing what I can mention is people have been spooked by, on this path they can feel a horse galloping. Now if you ever heard a horse galloping behind you, you get out of the way of it, and that's what people do. They hear the hooves pounding and the nostril, the air coming out the nostrils of the horse, so it's like a fast moving horse. And when they've turned to let it pass, they found that there has been no horse there whatsoever. Nobody's seen a horse, but they felt the presence of this galloping horse. Now what the horse is, we don't know, and why it comes down this path, we're not too sure, but it's just another mystery around these parts. I was just going to scout really, just going to do a spirit box session while we're here. Just asking out, is there any members of the crew of the Lancaster bomber what crashed here? Cemetery, sounds like. Is that where you're buried at, the cemetery? You mentioned cemetery then. There's a monument in the cemetery. Could you give us the names of the people what were killed on the Lancaster, please? The full crew of navigator, pilot. Could you tell us what took the plane down? It's the actual crash site. As you can see, the owls over there. What's that? Anthony just heard a voice for the camera there. I didn't hear anything. Wasn't through the spirit box. No. There's someone say they're alive and then like aha. Do you try to avoid the houses on Regatta Street? People were living in them. Seen pictures of the crash site. Plane. Someone mentioned plane then. In trouble. Sound like it said in trouble. We'll go back and listen to that, I think, because it sounded like they said they're in trouble. Ian crying. Right. Anthony can hear behind him in the woods. He can hear the sound of a woman crying. I don't know if we can pick that up. We'll try and stay silent for a bit. I'm going to just turn round. There's a lady who's crying in the woods behind me now. You want to come through and speak to us?
Hey, you have to tell it again.
Why didn't you record? No. So we're just heading back to the car. We're going back to Prince Lobengula's grave because we come last Sunday, just on the spur of the moment really. Took the spirit box and a couple of meters with us, and at the side of the grave we put the spirit box and we got the sound of an African man. I know it sounds daft, but it was at the Prince Lobengula's grave and we got the sound of an African man saying hello. Are you here with us, Prince? Prince Lobengula. So what's the odds of that, of getting somebody coming through with that type of voice saying hello to us?
And also on the this way, you can get through there. Also on the on Sunday, around the same area we was getting a couple voices come through, but the sort of was a bit moody, and they didn't it didn't feel very good. One of them was sort of a bit abrupt with us and a bit sarcastic, so we're going to go back and have it out with him.
Plus I got touched on my bum.
Yeah.
In the dark, near Prince Lobengula's grave.
Might have been him.
So that's why I'm going back. Well, this is the monument to the crashed Lancaster bomber. I'll just read it out to you. It just says, in memory of the Royal Air Force crew, Flight Lieutenant P. Lyons, pilot, Fly Off H. Reed, navigator, Fly Off J. H. Steele, air bomber, Sergeant Barnes, flight engineer, Sergeant Young, air gunner, Sergeant Davenport, air gunner, and Sergeant Singh, air gunner as well. Lost their lives when a Lancaster PB 304 crashed near Regatta Street on July the 30th, 1944. Now this plane, as you can see, it had bombers on it. It was absolutely loaded. So it was loaded to the hilt, fully armed and ready for war, for dropping bombs really. And it was heading back to its base. I think it had picked up at Burtonwood, and it was heading back to its base and where it crashed at Regatta Street. But you can imagine the devastation, because it took out a row of houses and also crashed into the River Irwell and the woods behind the River Irwell, and the bombs went off as well because it was fully loaded and ready to bomb. We just returned to Prince Lobengula's grave. We was here last Sunday, and we just done a quick spirit box session last Sunday, and we picked up a few names, voices, and also an African sounding man saying hello as well. Now I don't know what the odds would be of that. You're at a prince's grave from Africa and you get an African sounding voice. So again, we're just going to use a spirit box and see if we can contact the prince again. Asking out, Prince Lobengula, are you with us? Can you contact us please? Did you settle in Salford, Prince? That's a whistle. That was a whistle, like a whistle. Was that you whistling, Prince? I know. It's in reverse as well. Was that you whistling, Prince? We noticed, Prince, your daughter is buried at the side of you there. Delina died aged 4-year-old. Delina Lobengula. She died in the June, and you died in the November. Prince Peter Lobengula. Would you come through and speak to us, Prince? Was that you whistling? Peter Lobengula. Oh, that's him, innit? He's just there as Peter. On here he's Prince, so they've given him a monument because he's a prince. That's right. So Peter Lobengula was buried in this grave behind us, and his daughter's buried next to him. But later on they've given him a monument because they realised he was a prince from Africa. When I last come here at night, we come in at night time, I was touched on the back. Can the person who touched me on the back give me the name? Or come through and tell me why he touched me? Who touched me on the back? Can you touch me again? It's daytime now. Peter. I sound like Peter, he's called Peter. To me that sounded like Peter. I don't know if it did to you. And Peter's the prince's name. Does anyone remember us from last time? It sounded African again, that. Yeah. Yeah. Sounded like an African voice again to me. So we're just going to have a bit of a walk round here. We've just picked up another African voice while we was by the prince's grave there, and I asked if he remembered us from last time, and in an African accent he said "I do," and you'll hear it on. It's quite clear. Like last time we got "hello," and this time we got "I do." Sounded like an African accent to me. You make your own decision on that. But I'm just having a walk around with a spirit box now, because we're actually walking around the pauper graves here now. This is the oldest side of the cemetery. You can tell by the size of the tree. Look at the size of the tree there. That's probably was planted when the cemetery opened. So we're just having a walk around to see if anyone wants to come through. Anyone wants to come through and speak to us, communicate with us? Giving you the option of coming through to us. Okay. Dave? Was that Dave? David? Dave? That's a weird one. Dave, do you want to come through and speak to us? Yeah. Do you want us to stop here, Dave? Minnie Lee, yeah. Yeah. David, do you want to come through? We've picked you up on the spirit box. Can you come through and speak to us? I did. Dave again. That's Dave twice now. Not Dave. Lobengula. Alexander. Just found another relative of the prince's, Alexander Lobengula, who died aged 16. So he'd be the prince's son, so he's lost a daughter and a son. Walk down this one, hasn't it? Maureen. That was a Maureen then. Is that a bell? Like a school bell. Try and communicate with us. David. Are you still trying to communicate with us, David? Yeah. David Salt here. Is it? Yeah. 59. So he'd be older. David, was that you trying to communicate with us?